this is the Interstate tier list part 2, and part 3, where we're going to be going through the C and B tiers, and considering how long the B tier is. And I'm actually beginning to forget some of the states, but I promise I'm not going to repeat. So we're at 30. So we're at 34 because I cut off at DC last time. So we're currently at 34, and at 34th place at the beginning of the C tier, we have the state of Washington. So Washington has 3 interstates: 5, 82, and 90. So 82 is useful in getting around Central Oregon, but it only goes up to I-90. Whereas for I-90 and I-5, they could get you cross-state, but you have to be on like those specific roadways, otherwise it won't work. And the only reason why I'm putting it there is because of certain factors that my dad told me yesterday. Like that's also why in New York, I was initially gonna put higher up in the B tier, but now it's at the very bottom of the B tier. Cause like, if you think about it, like if there are only a few, and now I think different. I'm not gonna change anything, but I think differently of it now. Like if they're all interconnected, but they're not gonna hit every corner. Like the interstate highway system, even if it's good, it's not like top tier. Like it has to serve the people. You can't just have highways located in these cities. And as for Washington, all the intersections are in major cities. So you can't just probably get someone on the interstate unless you're off of it. Like Vancouver and Seattle are both on I-5. Seattle and Spokane are both, and I believe Everett is on I-5, like on I-90, but and Clark is on 82, but like it's not perfect. And considering how far Seattle is from the border with Canada, you're gonna be on I-5 more than you'd like. And at number 33 is New Jersey, because the New Jersey Turnpike and 95 are pretty accessible to a lot of places, but it has very few exits. So even if it runs right by it, it's gonna be hard to get there. The reason why I'm placing New Jersey this far up is while it only has 4 interstates, technically 5 if you consider the tiny part of 84, but it does not have any exits in New Jersey. No way to get from 84 to New Jersey without briefly going through New York or Pennsylvania. And 76 still, and you have 76 is barely in New Jersey. Like it ends at I-295 and Route 42. Which, by the way, if you're wondering, the auxiliary system in New York is actually kind of solid. In New Jersey, because you have 287, 278, although 278 barely gets to New Jersey, like 76. Like 76, I think it could be extended along New Jersey 42, and then on the AC Expressway, and then that would make it, and then I'd push it all the way up into the upper B tier, because then you get to Atlantic City on the interstate system, but, well, it's like, and then you have 78 and 80, but 78 is really the only one that truly goes cross-state east-west. 80 ends slightly before the border of New York, and it's just like, it's accessible, but you're gonna have a hard time if you just rely on that. Anyway, so the other two, and something I should definitely have placed a lot lower and not up in the C tier, is the state of Vermont. So Vermont, I'm only putting up this high because for a state that small, it has 3 interstate highways: 91, 89, and 93. And besides 89, 93, which intersect in New Hampshire, they all intersect within the state. 91 and 89 intersect in Whitehorse Junction, 91 and 93 in St. Johnsbury. However, there's only one auxiliary highway in Vermont, I-189. Like New Jersey has I-280, I-287, I-278, I-195, I-295. So I mean, obviously it's cranking up, at least like in the auxiliaries, at least it has a lot, and 87 gets really close too. I'd put it lower, but you could directly access the New York Thruway very quickly from New Jersey while staying on the interstate system due to 287. Whereas like the official part of it, thruway system is the Garden State Parkway connector, but I'm still gonna put it a little bit higher. And essentially what that means is like there's only one auxiliary, I-189, located in South Burlington. And like 91 mostly goes up the Connecticut River, and then it kind of turns away at a point, but it's not efficient in my opinion, because it doesn't access the people, and 93 doesn't access it very well. So in my opinion, it's just that if you're up in these areas, you're gonna have to be on 89, and relying on 89 is gonna be kind of a problem in a lot of circumstances. And considering there are no east-west highways in Vermont, I mean, 89 is kind of like one, that's also going to further sway my opinion down. And at 31 is New Hampshire. So I-95 has no auxiliaries in New Hampshire, just like in Georgia or South Carolina. And I-93 has 2 auxiliaries in the state, I-293 and I-393. The only other interstate in the state is I-89. And my problem with 95 is, again, like, it's in a corridor that a lot of people in Maine are going to be going through. But 93, in my opinion, is more important. Nonetheless, in the northern part of New Hampshire, there are no interstates. 89 is kind of east-west, but it's more like in a northwest-southeasterly alignment. Whereas 95 is like in the corridor a lot of people are going to be going through, a very narrow corridor by Portsmouth, which you could connect from Massachusetts onto Maine. But you have to briefly go through New Hampshire and you're on the 95 tiny stretch. But as for I-93, it kind of goes through the heart, through Manchester and Concord. Despite all this success, though, I'm still gonna put it. It's still gonna be C tier. Another state that's in the C tier, and you could get kind of offended by this, so I'm sorry. But another state that I'm gonna put in the C tier is Arizona. So Arizona has a lot of interstates. It has 8, it has 10, 17, 15, although 15 you could barely access, and you can only access, like I-15 isn't quite as bad as US 116 New Mexico, where the only road it intersects is NM 597, and neither was actually connecting New Mexico, so you have to go through Arizona or Colorado to access it. And like in my opinion, it's not so horrible, but it's not so horrible. But the thing is, it's just the fact that like my ultimate problem with this is just simply the fact that that like 15 you can only access on dirt roads. So do you even count it? In my opinion, no. And like, and 10 and 40, like, it's 10 and 17 intersect in Phoenix, but 8 doesn't quite make it to Phoenix. And the problem is that, like, if I-17 extended south, it would be great, but to get from I-8 to I-17, you kind of have to go a little bit out of your way, and 17 and 40 intersect in Flagstaff, but it's just not very well interconnected. Like if you want to get from I-4, like if you want to get to I-15, you're gonna have to go through not just Nevada, but because that's terrible, California. I know it's gonna offend a lot of people, so I'm sorry that I'm putting it this low. What I should definitely put a lot lower than our 29 spot, though, is the state of Maryland. As for me, Maryland is very interconnectable by interstate highway, and you can get around on the interstates very easily throughout basically the entire state. And like you have I-68, you have I-70, you have I-95, I-270, and I-370, along with potentially others, are located in the Baltimore area. What really I'm so in love with is the fact that I-95 has a complete set of almost complete set of auxiliaries in Maryland. I-195 is in the Baltimore area. I-295 is very quick in Maryland before heading up to DC. I-395 is also in the Baltimore area, and I was actually on the Baltimore-Washington Parkway, which is only one exit from that, 52 West 53. I-495, everyone knows the Capital Beltway, I've been on that. I-595 is an unsigned highway along part of US 50 from New Carrollton, Maryland at the Capital Beltway to Annapolis, Maryland, and this is a segment of US 50 that used to be I-197, and I-97 also exists, and so does I-83. Can't believe I forgot that. I-695 is the Baltimore Beltway, and I've been on that before. I-795 is a segment off of that, so you can head further north in Baltimore. And I-895 is the expressway in Baltimore that I've been on. So I've been on a lot, and I might have also been on the I-195 in Maryland, though that I am less sure of. Really, though, the reason why I'm putting it so high is because, like, 68, you could access the northwestern panhandle of Maryland. 70, it goes to Pennsylvania until it dips down, ends 68, and continues 68's, I guess, path. 83 is a great connector if you want to get into southeastern, or I guess maybe more like south central Pennsylvania. 95 is a good cross-state one, but the reason why I'm putting it this low is because if you're not in the Baltimore-Washington area, you're going to have a tough time connecting onto an interstate that's not remote. Like unless you live in that eastern, I'd say, third of Maryland, you're going to have a hard time connecting off of the interstate system. And that is a problem. Because that means that the interstate system is not reliable there. Doesn't access the people so well. And also the eastern part of Maryland, you can't connect to an interstate from there. Anyway, so at spot 28, at our 28th place, we have the state of South Carolina. So South Carolina has a lot of interstates, don't get me wrong. We have 77, we have 26, we have 20, we have 95, but I don't think, I mean, there's 126 and 526, but I don't believe that besides that, there aren't really auxiliaries in the state, and that's kind of a problem, because while Charleston has a fantastic interstate system, 77, 26, and 20 all intersect here. Besides from that, you're gonna have problems getting across on the interstate system. Like if you're in a remote region of South Carolina, good luck connecting onto an interstate. Hilton Head has no interstates too, and just driving around South Carolina is going to be on just interstates is going to be an absolute nightmare, because there's probably going to be a lot of traffic. But 27 is Georgia, for the sole reason that there's a lot of traffic. Oh, I forgot, 85 goes through South Carolina too. Although it's not as interconnectable, considering that it goes through the remote northwestern part in upstate South Carolina, which is just like a metro area. Unlike upstate New York, it's just like a metropolitan area. Yeah, we're on Maryland Boulevard now. We're crossing Phipps Lane, boys. We're gonna go on Avery Lane. But anyway, as for like Georgia is flowing with highways, like you have I-95 in that 2-hour corridor between Florida and South Carolina. So if you want to like connect to Jacksonville, or you just take that. But the problem is that besides 16 and not Savannah, it's like Lake Poola. Besides 16, you don't have too many major intersections, and so as for so like that's the thing. Like if you want to get to the eastern part of Georgia, or like the South Carolina, you're better off just taking a road like 20, which goes to the northern part. 16 though connects to I-75 in Macon, Georgia, and by this point, 85 is actually in Alabama. I know that's weird. But you have I-85, which is a pretty connectable highway if you want to take that to Montgomery, Alabama, or to Charlotte, North Carolina. That's gonna work. 75 is like the primary highway in western Georgia. And like here's the thing with I-20 though, like I-20 ends in the Augusta metropolitan area of Georgia and South Carolina. And I believe that's also what intersects US 1. But that actually kind of means that it's hard to go north from Georgia to South Carolina on the interstate system. In the future, I-3 will be built, which will help facilitate inland trade, assuming that they build on the Georgia to Tennessee route. But it's likely going to go through South Carolina, and probably, if it goes through South Carolina, North Carolina, unless they choose to build a route that goes back into Georgia, but like, the thing is that like Atlanta is obviously great with highways, and like I want to put it higher, but the main problem is the fact that unless you're in more like the interior part of Georgia, which I mean most people are going to be, let's be quite frank, but if like you don't want to be in the interior part of Georgia, you're gonna probably just have to just go to other parts of the state and connect off interstate, or go kind of out of your way. Oh, well, what about I-59 and I-24? They do connect to the rest of the state, especially 59. They do connect to the rest of the state on small state roads towards Atlanta. But they're primarily in the northwestern corner, and there are no direct interstate connections. So as for 24, you'd have to go through Tennessee. I mean, 75 in Chattanooga isn't too far away. Only around 14 miles, and then from there it's only 2 miles back into Georgia. And as for, and like, I mean, like here's the thing, in more controversial cases it takes longer, but these videos do take a long time, because like in more controversial cases like these, I have to discuss it for longer. But we are entering the B tier after this state. The next state that I'm going to mention is going to be Florida. So Florida is at the 26th spot. It's pretty much in the middle, but despite this, it's at the end of the C tier, which normally you... I meant to turn left. Right, I turned left. Well, let's just find the next connector to Winthrop, I guess. It better not be at Thomas Lane. It better not be at Thomas Lane. That's further up in Ives, and I mean by that point it might be quicker if I was to just take Roxton Road. Because at least by then I'd merge onto Wallace at a later point, but whatever. But as for the next state that I'm going to mention, it is going to be Florida, because you have 75 in the western part, and then 95 in the eastern part, and I-4 kind of goes through central Florida, but in southern Florida, what do you have? I-95 in Florida has I-295, the Jacksonville Beltway. It has I-595, a connector out to I-75, located in Miami, and in the future I-795, which will be in southern Jacksonville. But that's a problem. The problem is that that's it, and that there's nothing else. I mean, I-75 does have I-275, because I-75 is a bypass of Tampa, so that's if you want to go into Tampa, which means that 75 is the only interstate where I've been on one of their auxiliaries, but not the actual road. Oh God. Well, 70 and 84 used to be, but then I went on the road, so that kind of knocks out that category. Anyway, so as for 84, no, not 84. So anyway, so as for essentially, like in the other part, you have I-10, and it's one auxiliary in Pensacola, I-110. If that were to connect onto Alabama and maybe even I-65, I'd put it a lot higher. But essentially the problem is that if you're on the Florida thing, you're basically relying on I-10, and I mean there's also US 98, and I think 92, but you're relying on that for a long time. You're relying on that essentially for 6 hours of driving, well, not 6 hours, for 5 hours of driving. till I get to 75, and it's another hour to 95. Really, the thing is that most things are like 65. I-65 is only 8 miles from it, and by 300 meters, US 31 misses Florida. This is not about the US route system. And honestly, if I-10 were to go into Georgia, while it would definitely put Florida down to the D tier instead of at the top of the C tier, I would be inclined to put Georgia in the B tier at the very bottom. So the state that's at the bottom of the B tier is the state that I'm currently in, New York. I was initially thinking about putting it a lot higher, like in the middle of the B tier, but my dad convinced me that that's not true. The reason why is because in New York, it's hard to necessarily get around on the interstates. I mean, I-99 mostly exists within Pennsylvania, and when that gets fixed, Pennsylvania will definitely have a slightly higher rating, as it would be the primary route throughout central Pennsylvania. It's not above rocks, you know. But like in New York, it only exists up to 86. And 86, when it gets extended, I'll definitely put it a lot higher. But essentially, once you cross back into Waverly, New York, it's just NY17 until Binghamton at I-81, where for a little while exists again until NY79 at Windsor, New York. So then it's just NY17 out to where 86 in the future will meet the thruway in Harriman, New York, but it'll also, in Middletown, New York, both of which are in Orange County, connect to 84. So as for 84, what's the problem with 84? 84 is mainly like the upper part of downstate New York, and really like 90 New York is very remote until you get to station Tandy, and 88 is the primary route for central New York, despite 90 kind of having that intended purpose, which also makes 90 worse. 81 is the primary interstate in central New York, and 87 in eastern New York, but not for extreme eastern New York. Then you're kind of screwed. Like it has a lot of interstates, but like I definitely say downstate is deserving of A tier. Upstate is really only deserving of C tier, as it's not crisscrossing with interstates as there's a lot of gaps. Like if 83 or 99 ever get extended to Rochester, I'll be glad to put it a lot higher. New York definitely has a lot of room for improvement, potentially all the way up at the top of the B tier, but I was initially thinking of putting it higher because like downstate it's cranking. Like I-78 barely even exists in New York, but it has 4 auxiliaries in the state. I-278 is the main route if you want to go through the heart of New York City, although not really. Like if you want to avoid the heart of New York City but still traverse it, 278 for you. 678 goes through central Queens and into the Bronx. .295 is the main route for northeastern Queens. 478 helps you connect to 9A, and if 470 were to continue to all of 9A, I'd definitely be inclined to put it higher. And you have 695, a small connector for same directional travel between 295 and 95. But like, and you have I-495, the Long Island Expressway, but even though it's cranking down below, once you get up above, like by 287 and 87, like you only have a couple of options left, and you're gonna spend a lot of time not on the interstates and spending 50 minutes getting to an interstate, which at that point I'd already need a pit stop. So, unfortunately, I regretfully have to put New York down here, and it's in the B tier, but at the very, very, very bottom. And at 24 is, I believe I already covered West Virginia, but it's Normal Virginia. Normal Virginia. 81 is a primary route for Western, and 77 only, for me, it only works if you're just trying to connect from North Carolina to West Virginia very quickly, as you can only drive on it for around an hour, whereas I-81 you could drive on it for 5.5 hours. 64 you could drive on it for 5 hours, and it connects to the Hampton Road and by Charleston. And 95 is an essential artery for central West Virginia. 85 also exists in the state, and with so many interstates, you're probably wondering, well, Angie, why are you putting it so low? I'm putting it so low because because that you have 66 in the northern part, but in the northeastern quadrant and in the Virginia Beach Peninsula, again, there are no interstates. Like that's the problem at hand that I'm trying to get at, is the fact that they have to serve a large part of the state, and as for Louisiana, they do, but it's very hard to connect between them. I believe I-495, yes, it exists here, and I-295 and I-395 too. As for I-64, 264, 664, 564, 464, 664, 564, 264, and the Hampton Roads, which definitely help facilitate travel in southeastern Virginia, although not northeastern Virginia. And as for 81, it has 2 auxiliaries. It has 2 auxiliaries in here and 2 in New York. I believe in New York it's 781 and 41, and here I'm not sure what the 2 are. I believe what 2 auxiliaries here are. I believe one of them is 381 and 681. I'm not really sure. But anyway, at our number 23 spot is Massachusetts. So the highest one in New England, why is it placing so low? I mean, that's 84, 90, 91, 93, and 95. That's the most out of any state in New England. Why am I putting it so low? I'm putting it so low all the way down here because 90 is essentially a very sparse highway until you get to maybe not quite I-95, but I-495. Sure, all of I-95's auxiliaries in New England, 195, 295, 395, 495, or at least in southern New England, do connect here, and then you have 4 others in Maine. And like that's the thing, at 495, which is within half a mile of New England and 1.5 miles of Rhode Island, where to go there, I definitely boost both of those states up a little bit, but it doesn't. It doesn't. And the thing is essentially just the fact that like Massachusetts, well, it has a lot like between 90 through in Cape Cod there are no interstate highways, and between 91 and I guess either 95 or 93 depending on where you are, there aren't any interstates there. So that's mainly my problem with Massachusetts. I mean, there's also 291, 290, so there's definitely a lot in Massachusetts. Massachusetts, though, just like 84 also is barely in the state. So there are just problems with it, essentially. Problems that can be fixed, but not easily. Anyway, so the BTR I said is going to be long. Well, guess what? It might not be as long as I thought. I'm going to, because the video is going to end soon, so I might move some up to the A tier. But What's definitely not being moved up to the A tier is our number 22 spot, which is Arkansas. So when I-57 gets extended down here, I will be more than happy to pump it up to 18. But you have I-40, which is very useful for cross-state. But 55 really only exists in the eastern part of the state. 50, no, not 50. 57 would definitely be useful when connecting it to like, as like then you have a connection to Little Rock, so that would be useful in the north central part of the state. And 30 is useful in southwestern Arkansas, but besides that, you don't have too many options. And I believe I got Oklahoma. What I did not get at our number 21 spot is Tennessee. Tennessee is useful because you have I-55, which really only exists in the tiny southwestern corner and doesn't intersect with any other interstates, although in the future 69 will extend there. I-40 has 3 auxiliaries here, 840, 440, and 240. And I was on all of them except 840. It also has I-65 for central Tennessee and I-75 for eastern Tennessee. Interstate 24 goes cross-state from Chattanooga all the way up into northwestern Tennessee. 69 in the future, yeah, it will be the western segment of Tennessee. I-40 obviously goes cross-state in the state, but like even though I think that their system is amazing, and there's still improvements to be done. Oh, and 81, which is in northeastern Tennessee. Mainly, the problem is the lack of auxiliaries. I mean, I-40 has them, and I believe there's also I-124 in Chattanooga. I mean, 75 is bound to have some buried in there somewhere, but the problem is like the lack of auxiliaries is going to pose a huge problem, as there aren't really many metropolitan spurs, except if it's on I-40. But despite how long it is in Tennessee, I mean, you could literally spend 7.5 hours driving along this 450-mile road in Tennessee. It's not perfect, and there's still a lot to be done with it. And that's why number 20 spot, coming to the end of the B tier, our second to last state. Wow, the C tier is actually longer than I thought, but this is essentially this one is Mississippi. So you have 55 and 69, although 69 barely. You have I-269, you have I-22. I-40 gets close, but it doesn't count. And that's not even the beginning of all the problems I have with this. It's not even the beginning of all the problems that I have with this and why I can't put it higher. So I can't put it any higher, because not only that, but like they don't really vote. I mean, you have I-10, but you don't, and I-20, but you don't really have any roads in the southeastern corner besides I-10, which doesn't even connect to the rest of the interstate system. Yeah, you do have I-59. 59 is mainly useful in southwestern and central eastern Tennessee, Mississippi. But you know, problems.